Outstanding. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Programs and Services Committee. It is Wednesday, June 18th. We're being audio and video recorded. At the beginning of the meeting, we have Vice Chair of the Committee, Councilor Bill Humphrey from Ward 5. We have from Ward 1, Councilor John Oliver. From Ward 3, Councilor Julian Malachy. From Ward 8, Councilor Stephen Farrell. We are joined by Councilor Maria Greenberg. Great to see you here, Councilor Greenberg, not a member of the committee, but great to see you. And from Ward 2, is that Councilor David Mickley zooming in from vacation?
I'm here.
Oh, welcome, Councilor Mickley. And I'm Josh Krinsman, Chair of the Committee, Councilor at Large from Ward 4. Having said all that, let's get right to it. First item on our agenda is item 140-25. This is a resolution to recognize City Council support for state legislation for in-school CPR training. Councilor Farrell, I know that you have introduced this. I will take public comment on this because I know that there are some folks here who are interested in speaking to it. But Councilor Farrell, let me turn it over to you. You can tell us why you filed this item. Then we'll hear from anyone who wants to speak, and then we can move to debate.
Thank you, Chair. And let me start by saying I appreciate Councilor Greenberg being here, who also is very strong supporter of this. In April, mid-April, I received an email from a student in North, Hannah Sung, who was a CPR ambassador with the Crimson EMS and of the American Heart Association. And she was looking for support for a resolution from the city of Newton to go to the legislature in support of 4 bills, 2 in the House and 2 in the Senate, to require or permit, or require CPR training in high schools, mandatory. She noted that the cardiac arrest is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. And with timely CPR, survival rates can double or even triple. And by teaching students in CPR in school, we empower a generation of lifesavers. I have immediately responded to her. Some of you may know that I've had serious heart issues for a number of years, with the fortunate result that in 7 years, 2 months, and 3 weeks ago, I received a heart transplant. So I wrote back and said I would be more than thrilled to support this effort. And Councilor Greenberg also received an email from Ashwara Ramson. I hope I pronounced that properly. It was a student at Brandeis. And in the meantime, I also received a letter back from Nyan Cypress, who has joined us tonight. I'm really pleased that Nyan is here. And I guess it'd be most important to just turn it over to Nyan and ask him what this project is all about and what you're looking for from the City Council. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Farrell. Before I
I'm sorry, I should have asked you for permission. No
problem. I think my internet is shaky, so I apologize if I come in and out. It's me, right? Everyone could hear Councilor Farrell okay?
Yeah, I heard him fine.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I think it's mine. I'm trying to fix it now as we speak. Want to just mention that we've been joined by a member of the committee from Ward 6, Councilor Alan Lobovitz. And with that, unless Councilor Greenberg, did you want to say anything about the docket item before I recognize our guest speaker?
Yes, I strongly support this resolution. Sudden death is a leading cause for athletes, for young athletes in high school. So I think it's a no-brainer that all high schoolers before graduating need to learn the basic skills of CPR and how to use an AED. So I strongly support this.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Greenberg. Did anyone else have any other comments before I recognize anyone interested in speaking on this item?
You mean at all or prior to opening it to the council?
Prior to taking public comments. Councilor Oliver.
Thank you. So I get it. Yeah, makes sense to me, but I do have a couple of questions. How many how much time out of the what's already a very crowded, hopefully, high school curriculum would this take? Like how many, like is it one class? Is it a quarter? I see that they're 45 minutes long, but it doesn't say like, hey, and by the way, it's just once or 5 times or what have you.
Okay. Appreciate that. I think you're going to be looking for either the proponents of this or any of the speakers to answer that question. So I'm not going to
Correct.
try and get that now, but appreciate that and want people to take note of that. Councilor Humphrey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, when I was in high school in Newton, we did have to do CPR training. That was done through, I want to say, the gym classes.
PE,
They
yeah.
just set aside some of the PE classes that were mandatory anyway. So I assume that's the plan along the lines here. I don't know whether they still teach it or not as a requirement in in the Newton Public Schools, but obviously this is about a state requirement.
Okay, any other comments before we move to public? Councilor Oliver?
Yeah, sorry. I am curious. Why is this coming through city council? And has anyone spoken to school committee or NPS about this?
Okay. Let's hear from the public, then we'll take it back in committee and we can debate. Sound good? Okay. Anyone who wishes to speak on the item can raise their hand. Any member of the public, for example. Mr. Sappers, and I'm going to pronounce your name wrong, so correct me. And we'll see if anyone else either joins. There could be people watching on YouTube who just have to log into the Zoom to join or anything like that. So, okay, first speaker, Nyan Sappers. So sorry about mispronouncing your name. Just correct me.
No worries at all. It's Nyan Sapers. Good evening, committee members. I will address the points that were brought up, but I do have some prepared remarks. I'm Nyan Sapers. I'm a junior at Harvard and co-founder of the CPR Ambassador Program, which thank you, Stephen, or Councilor Farrell, for raising everyone's awareness of in partnership with Crimson EMS, Harvard's EMS organization, and the American Heart Association. I'm here to ask for your support in passing this resolution that will bring life-saving, hands-only CPR and AED training to every high school in Massachusetts. Every year, more than 350,000 Americans suffer out-of-hospital cardiac arrest and fewer than 12% survive. But we know that bystander CPR can double or even triple a victim's chance of survival. Yet Massachusetts remains only one of 9 states without a mandate for CPR instruction in schools. That means countless young people graduate without these critical skills. Last fall, our CPR Ambassador Program trained over 60 high school students to serve as peer instructors in hands-only CPR and AED use. To date, those ambassadors have led more than 80 school-based trainings, reaching over hundreds of their classmates, gotten more than 225 signatures for a petition for hands-only CPR in schools, lobbied at the State House for the bills, and partnered with local EMS agencies to raise awareness among schools and the general public. We've seen firsthand how quickly students learn and how proudly they carry their new skills into homes, sports fields, and public spaces. Our proposal is simple and cost-effective. It would incorporate a 30 to 45 CPR AED session into existing assemblies, health classes, or PE. So to that earlier point, it is very flexible and it would only take 1 class period. We've seen success with schools knocking it out all at once, doing a full school assembly where essentially everyone learns how to do CPR and AED. Some have broken it into, as mentioned, PE as well as health classes. It would equip each classroom with an inflatable mannequin set, which costs around $725. But these are investments that can last a decade or more and come out to pennies per student. And 2 out of 5 of the bills would establish grant programs that would ensure all schools, regardless of budget, can participate. So to the early point about sort of school committee versus city council, we know that city council resolutions matter. When a city like Newton speaks with one voice, it demonstrates to the legislature that this isn't just a statewide priority, it's a local imperative. We've already seen momentum build with city councils at Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, Brockton, Taunton, and Lowell, having passed the exact same resolution and helping pave the way for their state representatives to champion mandatory CPR education. So by adopting this resolution, you'll empower our students with the knowledge to save a life, strengthen community resilience and public safety, and send a clear message to the State House that it's time for Massachusetts to join its peers equipping every graduate with life-saving skills. And just another reminder that Massachusetts is only one of 9 states that doesn't have such a mandate. On behalf of Crimson EMS, the American Heart Association, our dedicated CPR ambassadors, and the countless residents you serve, I urge you to pass this transformative resolution for Massachusetts. Thank you all for your leadership, especially Councillor Farrell and Councillor Greenberg, and for helping assure that when seconds count, Massachusetts students will be ready.
Thank you very much, Nyan Sapers. Okay, much better. Sorry about that. Thank you. Any other individuals wishing to speak on this? Okay, then we will close public comments, take it back into committee. Members of the committee, we have the item before us, open for discussion. Have at it. Who wants to say something? Councillor Oliver.
Shocker, right? So I am curious, Nyan, is there a kind of timeline that you under, if I may be so bold as to go directly to the proponent here, their chair?
Sure. Yeah, we can either ask Councillor Farrell or Greenberg or
anyone who wants to have
Mr. Sapers. Does anyone want to speak to that?
I would, if I may, Chair, I would suggest that we put that question to Nyan Sapers.
Nyan Sapers.
So the hearing, so it's currently in all the legislation, there are 5 bills currently, are in the Joint Committee on Education. It's slated for a hearing on July 21st. So if we could get as much support as possible before then, that's sort of what we're aiming for. We ideally, the mandate would be in place starting for the 26-27 school year, so that especially if one of the bills that establishes a grant program is passed, there's time to sort of work out the logistics and sort of many working pieces that would go into making sure those were functional.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Oliver, you all set? You have more questions?
Well, I don't have more questions. My only comment here is the school committee doesn't even mess around with curriculum for our schools. This seems to me to be a perfectly well-intentioned, and this is a resolution, so I know it's non-binding, at least I assume it is. I just would have expected us to have gone through the, hey, let's ask Dr. Nolan, like where she sits with this. I got to tell you, I personally, I support it. But it doesn't say non-binding. It is non-binding, right? Because that's.
I mean, it's a resolution.
Right.
It's a resolution,
Okay.
so yeah.
I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. I'll sit down and shut up, or stay seated and shut up.
Appreciate that. Councillor Mickley.
This has my full support. Thank you, Mr. Sapers, for the thorough explanation. Seems like an easy thing for us to do.
Concise, to the point, efficient. That's a man on vacation. Councillor Malky.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding the state mandates, I think we've got much more expensive and onerous state mandates to deal with than this. I think this is a great idea. It's kind of crazy that Massachusetts is one of 9 states without this. And I personally know somebody who is probably still here because their daughter did CPR on them, that she knew because of being on a sports team, and not an elderly person by any means. So I think it's great to get high school students trained, and I think we probably ought to get ourselves trained too, which I think we've talked about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malky. While I wait to see if there are other hands, I'll give you all my 2 cents, which I met with Nyan, and I should have remembered his name from when I met with him, and I apologize that I didn't remember how to pronounce it, but I'm not smart. So there you go. And I have a bad memory. What did I just say? Anyway, my hesitancy here is that, as we've all seen, the school budget is in really rough shape. We're struggling to afford the things that we have. And my hesitancy is to put more mandates on the school department about things that they have to do, as opposed to help that we can provide them to accomplish the things that they're already asked to do. So it is in no way anything substantive against this, because like folks have said, I think the CPR training is highly valuable. Like you, Counselor Humphrey, I also experienced that in gym class. I remember Mr. Steves giving us the unit on CPR training. It was valuable. I appreciated it. But, to the point that I think Counselor Oliver was making, I don't like putting us in the position of, or the legislature in the position of saying that these are the things you have to do now unless they also provide the resources to do it. So I fully appreciate that there are bills that would provide the grant program and would provide the resources to do this. I'm not sure the resolution is at least contingent upon the resources being provided. So I will probably abstain on the vote because I do think it's a good idea, but I'm not necessarily looking to put more mandates on the school department at the moment when we haven't yet fulfilled our promise to give them the resources to provide the education that we've already asked them to provide. So that's where I'm at. Councilor Farrell.
Mr. Severs, did you say, in fact, that the part of this bill asks for the financial support from the state?
I believe he said that there are 5 bills collectively, and within those 5 bills, there are grant programs that would provide the grants to the school departments and help fund the programs. Am I saying that correctly, Nyan?
Yes, that's correct. And I think to your earlier point, both, so Hannah, who wasn't able to be here tonight, was one of our CPR ambassadors. So she did quite extensive research on the resources that exist at both Newton North and Newton South. Newton North currently teaches all of its students CPR, hands-only CPR. So that's covered. Newton South has the resources too, but hasn't been able to for the past couple of years. I think she mentioned post-COVID. Yeah, before the pandemic, CPR was a part of the sophomore curriculum at Newton South. So with particular reference to your point about the putting extra financial burden, if one of the bills that were passed weren't to establish a grant program, wouldn't necessarily be the greatest concern for Newton schools in particular. My other point is that I'm more than happy to talk to school committees. I've just been reaching out to as many people as possible and sort of been chatting with whoever responds. So I'm more than happy to talk to anyone on the school committee and potentially have this run through them as well. But I really appreciate both Councilor Farrell and Councilor Greenberg for getting back to me about this resolution in particular.
Understood. Thank you. Councilor Labovitz.
Thank you, Chair.
Are you in our room?
I share the.
Are you at City Hall?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, are you at City Hall?
Now you scared him away.
Oh, shame on me.
Oh, the poor man.
I blew it. Councilor Labovitz, come back. I'm sorry I asked you where you are. It was inappropriate. I didn't mean anything by it. It doesn't matter where you are. I'm sorry.
He also has been unwell recently, so perhaps that's got something to do with it.
Did anyone else want to speak while we wait for Councilor Labovitz's reemergence that I caused? I feel terrible here. Councilor Farrell, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. It certainly wasn't my intention, and I'm certain Councilor Greenberg knows how to do this much better than I, given that she's had some experience with it, to do something without consideration for the school department. I hope that Nyan and his colleagues will also ask the school committees to support this and become engaged in it. But I guess I looked at it as a legislative matter, and that we are the legislative group of the city, that we would support the notion. And again, I guess I can think of a few things that aren't more in a non-academic situation important than helping to save people. And this happens a lot in the United States, where whether through this sort of CPR program or some of the other life-saving techniques that we teach to young people, that it's important to do that. So, and I'm happy to support this and push the legislature also to fund it. So I'm sorry that, did we lose our colleague completely now? Apparently.
I think we did, and I just feel awful. He was on a roll. He had already, I think, said hello, and
Well,
I intervened.
yeah, and I'm
foolishly.
just,
Why don't we get on a roll to a vote?
Oh, oh, I hear it. I hear it. Okay. Counselor Humphrey, I believe, has moved approval of 140-25.
Yes.
Counselor Humphrey has moved approval. Any discussion on that motion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 That was 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. Those opposed?
I think it's 5, right?
Well,
Humphrey, Farrell, Malachi, Mickley.
Or 6.
I think I had Humphrey, Farrell, Malachi, Mickley,
Oh, yeah, it's 5, right?
which is 4.
No.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I will abstain. Counselor Oliver abstains. So I think it's 4-0 to 2. Okay, so passes. 9, like I think Counselor Farrell wrote to you, this means it goes to the full city council meeting, at which it'll be taken up by the full city council at our next meeting, which I think is in a week and a half. Do I have that right? I don't even remember.
I thought July 6th.
July 16th, I think. Or
Yeah, right.
Oh,
somewhere-
right, because of the July 4th holiday. Yeah, July 16th. So middle of July. Okay, that's that. Thank you. Incidentally, I will just mention to folks, if you don't know, many of us learned that staying alive was kind of the beat, right, for doing compressions right on the chest. That has been updated. So you're going to want to familiarize yourself with the song Pink Pony Club, because that is now the recommendation, and that is the song that, if I'm not mistaken, at 9, am I right about that?
You can use either, but that's the most recent innovation.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Councilor Farrell.
Just quickly, I want to thank Nayan for coming in and being here. Please thank Hannah and Ashwara for also being part of this. Thank you,
Of
Chair.
course. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, and by the way, yeah, log off. Don't worry about it. You don't have to stay. The next item is item 184-25. This is the appointment of Morgan Mader to the Biosafety Committee. Morgan, thank you for joining us. I hope you were entertained and appreciated the first item. Sorry that you were second on the agenda, but what we do here is give you an opportunity to say why it is that you're interested in serving in this capacity. Then we did read your resume, so that was part of our package. You don't have to, review that, but just sort of telling us why you're interested in this. And I'll open it up to committee members for questions, and then we'll proceed to a vote. So with that, let me turn it over to you. Give you a few minutes to say why you're interested.
Great, thank you so much. So I had never really thought about the Newton Biosafety Committee, honestly, until it came to my attention recently. But as you've seen on my resume, I have been at a number of biotech startups, and what comes along with that is that I have served as the biosafety officer on the IBCs at all of them, because when you're the only person there, you sort of wear all of the hats. And so I've been responsible for securing the recombinant DNA permit from both Cambridge and Boston at some of these companies. I've served as both the biosafety officer and the chemical hygiene officer. So I have accrued a lot of experience doing this thing that I didn't necessarily set out to do, but came along with being early at biotech startups, and have spent a lot of time thinking about this and participating in these meetings. And so when it came to my attention that this was a thing in Newton and that they were looking for someone, it just seemed like I have the expertise to be able to do this in the community where I live. So I sort of raised my hand and said, I'd be interested in participating.
Great, thank you. I'm going to open it up to see if there are questions. First, I wanted to ask, though, are you certified in CPR?
I am not, but I would love to be.
All right, okay. That's going to be the first question I think I ask everyone from now on. Don't worry, it's not a qualification for this position. Councilor Oliver.
Great, thank you, Chair. And thank you, Morgan, for recognizing that you have a skill set that not a lot of people in Newton have, and you're willing to serve. So thank you for that. And other than the 5-page, resume and impeccable standards, degrees from multiple outstanding organizations, educational institutions. I'm just curious, is there anything else we need to know? Why you feel qualified for this role? That question is not worthy of an answer. I just wanted to be the first to say, oh my gosh, thank you for being willing to share your expertise with us. And I'm not going to do anything else, although I'll leave the rest of that statement to Councilor Humphrey, who's
Thank you.
in Ward 5.
Thank you, Councilor Oliver. Councilor Humphrey, I
I'm
believe I saw you
happy to-
making a motion.
I'm happy to move approval if nobody else has anything they want to ask.
Councilor Humphrey has moved approval. Any discussion on that? All right, I'll add my 2 cents. Everything that Councilor Oliver said, 100% thank you. Like, it's hard to think of someone more qualified for such a position. On top of that, my wife was a camel. So
Oh, really?
yeah, with that, you know,
Awesome.
I'm a lock. Yep. Councilor Farrell, did you raise your hand? Sorry, that's a reference to Connecticut College.
I want to echo everything except the last part of your statement. But thank you again very much for volunteering to be here, to be on the committee, and best wishes to you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no more discussion, all those in favor, Councilor Humphrey has moved approval of 184-25. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that's unanimous, 6-0. Again, Ms. Mader, this will go before the full council July 16th. You don't have to be there.
Okay.
You can watch online if you're curious, but I would anticipate no problems and that this will sail through.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Good night.
Our last item of the evening is item 373-24. This is requesting a discussion with Parks, Recreation, and Culture about restroom facilities at City Fields. I think folks probably remember we had a preliminary discussion on this. We talked a little bit about the sort of lack of facilities, restroom facilities in a number of our fields. Within this committee, we've had a number of discussions, both about the condition of our fields, the plans for improving our fields, the plans for reconstructing some of our fields, controversies over ways that the fields are being reconstructed and repaired. But this was sort of tangentially related, and this was accommodations for the people who are then using those fields. Commissioner Banks was good enough to agree to be here tonight and give us an update. I think when we last spoke, I specifically had a request about trying to put together an estimate of what would it take to get some facilities at all of the fields across Newton, or at least a portion of them. And so I'm hopeful we'll hear some at least progress on that, if not a complete answer to that question. So with that, I want to turn it over to Commissioner Banks. Thank you for being here. And then we can have a discussion.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. And Chair Krinsman and other members of programs and services, I thought I would kind of give a little bit of a recap on our current situation with our portable toilets for the city fields, serving our sport groups and our field users. And then, you know, if there's questions or anything from there, I'll also kind of recap since our last meeting, some of the discussions I've had going through budget season and those types of things. So just to kind of give an overview of our current setup with portable units at our city fields, we work very closely with our groups that utilize the fields for sports. Those are our main constituents who we cater to. But having some conversations with the groups, really their preference is to work collaboratively with each other. So youth soccer may have a primary field where they're using something, and sometimes lacrosse uses it, and vice versa. And they're also very collaborative with the school departments as well. So sort of sharing in how those portable units are being put out. They seem to be very happy with the current setup because they're really focusing the portables that they're placing at the premier fields where they are having the sport experience that is, like a full day back-to-back games, practices, those types of things. They may determine not to put portable units on a field that is not a premier field, but maybe they have like a 1 hour practice there once a week or something like that. So they feel like budget-wise, they like to have the control of that process rest with them as far as making decisions. We do have during our sport season, so specifically fall and spring, we do have portable units at many of our sites. primarily what we consider our premier fields. So the North and South high schools, Brown Oak Hill, Weeks Field, Forte Field, Albemarle Park, McGrath, Cold Spring, many of those. So that is sort of the lay of the land of how we have been working with the groups and specifically the sport fields. I will say that we do get regular inquiries from the public. I would say that there are emails and calls that come in from folks that would love to see toilet, restroom facilities placed at all of our parks, playgrounds, courts, really any areas that they are utilizing for outdoor recreation space. I do have a bit of budget numbers, Chair Kunzman, so I'm happy to come back to that sort of with the overall framing of what it would take budget-wise. When we spoke last time, we did discuss, taking a look at maybe providing some portable toilets at about 5 locations. I think we sort of framed it as kind of a pilot project. And, it is really challenging for us because really having a funding source is the tough part. And the sport groups have fees that they charge, but many of the other groups, including our schools, in the summer months, just don't have the budget to be able to keep those portable units out there. We did request some additional funds when we went through the budget season this year. We put that forward for consideration. I would say, and I think all of you were a part of this, the administration had to balance a lot of needs in the community. All of our departments had needs that had to be balanced there. And we made some progress, but not, not a full budget coming forward. Let's see. I would say in our operating budget, some of the areas where we really focused and did see additional budget offered, mowing, taking care of our fields. We did add a staff member because we'll be opening the Cooper Center. We'll have about 60+ hours of programming time at Cooper in the after hours. And of course, a lot of our aquatics facilities, our new pool at Gath and a new splash park. So getting back to sort of what we tried to do with the portable toilets, we did focus on trying to designate our aquatic spaces for having bathroom facilities. So if you were just at our opening of the Upper Falls Splash Park, you will see that we do have a portable unit there. We do have a portable unit at Crystal Lake, and we do have the bathroom facilities at Albemarle, which will be available. So really trying to prioritize those. Couple other areas that kind of get us to that total of 5 portable units. We focused on areas where we're gathering large crowds. So one of them is the Cove, where we have our picnic area. That's also a thing where we have people bringing in food, barbecuing. They tend to spend a lot more time there. So offering the bathroom facility there. And the other area where you'll see it is the Newton Center Plaza. No, not the Newton Center Plaza, the Newton Center Playground, where we host our summer concerts and also have our clay courts. So that's sort of a dual purpose where the tennis members have access to those. And then again, with the concerts, we see people get dinner out at the shops and then come on down for our Sunday evening summer music series down there. And again, spend a couple hours down there with us. So we have that unit available there too. So that's what the city is currently providing and how we are partnering with our sport groups to provide those units as well. I want to just refer to my notes for a minute to see about some of the costs. So, I'll point out, so Crystal Lake is a portable unit that we've had in place for more than a year now. That unit, when we're in the height of our season, gets a cleaning service 5 times a week. So we're seeing, that one unit at that site for the season is about a $6,000 expense. So just to give you sort of an idea of a busy location and what the cost would be. And that goes out around Memorial Day and will stay out through Labor Day. Costs, if we were to, take that 6,000 per unit with those regular cleanings. If we were to put them out at 50 locations, and I just based this on like a 9-month time period, so pretty much saying we probably wouldn't keep them out in the winter. They wouldn't be serviceable during the winter. The budget needed would be about 300,000 for that. Could be a little bit less if we didn't clean quite as many times, as Crystal Lake is obviously very busy.
Right, I think what you're saying is that Crystal Lake gets it 5 times a week. And so, for example, at Weeks Field and Newton Center, you'd probably have heavier usage on the weekends, and
Right.
maybe 1 or 2 cleanings a week would suffice for those other fields like
Exactly.
that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But just to give you a ballpark of, what a unit would cost over several months, and then trying to spread that out across, thinking about the number of parks we have that really do have high level of recreation amenities there.
What
for
is that number? Do you have that number of parks that are lacking facilities at the moment?
So I think most don't have it. Our smaller parks really, we've got the premier fields are well accounted for in those sports seasons. We do have some of our buildings available. So any of the parks that are adjacent to the high schools, they have the building access. We have some community buildings. I mentioned the one at the Cove, the field house at Albemarle. Our 3 community centers, so Upper Falls, Lower Falls, and Pellegrini. Those buildings are available and can be utilized by the public, but they are based on programming schedules when we're in the buildings. So,
Right, and I think
when we're in there.
mostly those buildings are not available when just the fields are being used, right?
So it depends if they have programs running. So in the summer, we are always programming out of those buildings, and they are available. In the school year, we have some tenants in the buildings. So preschools, after school programs, and then recreation programs. So they're open quite a lot.
Okay, do you know how many fields there are that don't have any facilities?
So specifically athletic fields without facilities? I don't. I'd want to get back to you with that number.
Okay. And any committee, I'm sorry, were you all finished? I was going to open it up for questions.
Yeah, that was kind of the
Okay.
overview I wanted to give. Just some progress since our last meeting. I think the one other thing I would share is that I did have conversations with our athletic directors at the schools, and their budgets are also very tight, but they are committed to keeping those portable units at the high schools during those sports seasons. Their sports seasons go until mid-end of June and start back up again in mid-August. So it really is like a 1-month period when those won't be there, and they weren't able to commit to keeping it out at this time. They did mention at the high schools again that there is programming in the summer, and so the building is often accessible.
Councilor Farrell.
Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate the presentation. What concerns me at the most basic level is that the parks are open to all people almost all days of the year, and that this is really a public health issue, if nothing else. Unfortunately, people cannot schedule their need to use these services. And I understand the money part, but I think there's got to be a way for us to talk about how we provide this service, because I see events, and this is why I'm probably going to have to not vote again on this, because my backyard is contiguous to these fields. And so there's a self-serving aspect to this, and I'm told by the lawyers. But there are often times when these services are not available that people are, in fact, and can't go into a gymnasium or can't go into a public building, and they're just using nature. And I think as a city with a very robust parks program, and whether it's for athletics or people walking through a park, enjoying it, or just parents out with children, that there should be ways for them to access facilities. Now, I agree the budget is stressed in many levels, but I think this is a basic public health issue, and I don't know. I think we need to talk more about it as a starting point. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Counselor. And I do, I mean, that and I hope I got the message across. I mean, we really did try to prioritize, especially those aquatic areas where we know people are going to be swimming or, you know, wet and staying a little bit longer. And also some of those spaces we have where we see crowds gather for a longer amount of time, that we're serving food, like the picnic areas. You know, that's sort of why we prioritized those, was the public health issue. I will just add, you know, portable toilets can be tricky. For as much as I get the calls and emails for those who want to have the amenity at all of our parks or near the playground that they are going to, or the court that they're going to, I also get, you know, folks who don't like the placement of them. So we do have to place our portable units in a location where a truck can easily get to them to service it. So that's usually kind of a visible spot in the park. Sometimes there's close by neighbors. We usually want to have those along a pathway, also for accessibility. So, you know, for as much as we get, you know, we want to have this, we also hear, oh, it's an eyesore and we don't want this. So it really is kind of a balance, and that's just some of the feedback we hear when we do have units placed, whether it's the city placing it or working with our sport partners.
Councilor Farrell?
I guess one of the things that would be interesting to discuss is the places where there are public facilities close by. And I'm going to stick with Newton South at the moment because that's what I know best. But I don't know whether or not it is possible to have a functioning bathroom available to the public, closed off from the rest of the school, so that you're not spending this money to rent the portable units, but in fact there would be a location that would be publicized for teams and people using the parks and facilities of the fields could in fact go to someplace in the high school or even one of the middle schools. Now I know that's money also, but when you look at $6,000 a season over 10 years, whether $60,000 could be used to create a public facility that would be connected to the system within that building. I mean, I don't know, but I guess I'd just like to think that there are ways for us to look at other opportunities to create these facilities for people. Again, thank you. I think it's a long conversation perhaps, but even more detailed, and I admit money's an issue, but the need to have these facilities is very important, I think. And not just for the athletes, but for parents walking their kids, for everybody. I don't know. I don't see many public bathrooms around Newton, and maybe Newton as a city needs to think about that. How do we do public bathrooms? Particularly with all the new technologies, they can be less, they require less maintenance perhaps. I don't know, I'll leave this now. You know my point. Maybe there are other people who would like to speak.
Thank you, Councilor Farrell. Appreciate it. Councilor Malachy?
Thanks. Regarding the last point, I think there are very sort of high-tech structures that clean themselves when you leave them, but I don't think they're cheap, and I think I've read about them in foreign countries. But I had a sort of interim request, for the commissioner. I don't see anywhere on the website in the parks description about restroom facilities. And could we at least put in the park descriptions on the websites, you know, to what extent they have, you know, facilities at different times or seasonally, or porta potties, or what is available at different times, so that people who have that concern would at least know which parks they could go to, and know that if in an emergency, there's someplace for them to go.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, I'd be happy to take a look. On the parks webpage, we do have every facility has a description of some of the amenities you can find there. So we can certainly take a look at adding a note about restroom availability.
Okay, and you know, as specific as you can, recognizing that if it's, you know, September to May, but not June or whatever, you know. Okay, that's it for now.
I don't see any other hands at the moment. I think I fully recognize that the cost question is going to be the biggest one. I think the placement question is going to be a secondary question that's definitely going to be a hurdle that we have to deal with. I was hoping to have a little bit more information tonight about the number of fields that don't have it, the number of fields that do have it, what the problem looks like, and what the costs of that are. I guess I wasn't clear enough in my request. So I'm a little disappointed that we sort of still haven't moved at all in terms of just getting our arms around the magnitude of the problem or the issue. So that's a little frustrating. I guess I'm going to ask that we hold the item again, because I would like to come back, and I would appreciate it if the department is able to put together some more detailed information about what this is, what we have, what we don't have, so that we can really start to grapple with what a solution might look like. Because I share the sentiment that this is a challenge that the city faces. I don't think we are doing a service to our residents or the visitors to the city who come to our fields. And I think that we as a city should be doing more, recognizing that it's going to be hard to do it. I do think we should be doing more. So, all right, I see a couple of hands. Sorry, Councillor Farrell.
Thank you again, Chair. I support your notion here. I guess I would also like to hear some reports on what you know, we are in the 20th century here, that we could use. Oh, I'm sorry, we're in the 21st century. Oh, that the technology around the world, as Councillor Malachy said, I mean, there are places where people don't worry about, and that's a problem in the United States, I understand, but you know, they're more open facilities, but there is technology, there are options as opposed to just these rental units. And I would like to hear more about that. What are the possibilities for having stations created in some of the larger areas? Again, I see this with surprising regularity in Newton South. And it just doesn't seem worthy of a city like Newton to have this basic issue not be addressed. So I hope that will be part of what you will ask the commissioner to return to us with. It's more information about options other than the portable units. Thank you.
I think with structures or things other than portables, you know, I'd really recommend that we think about attendant versus non-attendant. I visited San Francisco, and they had the fancy self-cleaning when you close the door, basically sprays everything down. Their city found that they still needed to have an attendant with it to make sure that it was properly utilized, and they had somebody there just to help people. A lot of people, the technology was unknown, and it was even, you know, how do I do this? Or it was scary when you know, the door shuts automatically and locks and all of those things. So they sort of talked people through that. I certainly will say we see a lot of vandalism. So Councillor Farrell, you mentioned Newton South a few times. Just this spring season, we had a couple break-ins, vandalism to the building, the area with restrooms and sort of the snack area near the stadium. And so it is something, you know, opening buildings and not having them be attended is, does lead to some of those issues. So that would be one expense to consider, and then just, having them be custodial expenses and tradespeople to keep them up and in good working condition would be other expenses we'd want to consider there.
Councilor Maliki, you have more?
Yes, just so following up on the chair's request for information, which I was kind of expecting we'd have something like that too. Maybe the best way for us and for the public is to have a spreadsheet that lists all the parks and what they have in terms of whether it's nothing, porta-johns, seasonal real restrooms, whatever, and have it have that on the website so that it's an easy reference. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Maliki. Councilor Farrell.
Thank you very much, Chair. With all due respect, Commissioner, there will always be problems with some of these options, but I would guess that the successful use of some of these facilities far outweighs those problems. And I don't know, but I don't want the conversation to end because there have been some people who get scared when they walk into a self-serving facility and the doors close behind them. I mean, I'm sure there are people like that, probably scared the hell out of me, but I just think these all ought to be discussed fully. I just think it's a service in this city that it shouldn't be in question, in my opinion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Banks, let me ask you, is it possible, do you think, to get the kind of inventory information that we, I think, talked about a little bit tonight in terms of what the resources are, what we have, what we lack, and then cost estimates on what it would take to put facilities at a number of fields and a separate estimate of what it would take to put facilities at all the fields and or playgrounds?
Yes. Yep.
Is that something we could come back maybe in a month and talk about?
Timeline wise, I mean, I think definitely an inventory of what we have, taking a look at some of the other costs. I'd probably want to work with our public buildings department and check in with Commissioner Morse on how to put together the numbers. So yeah, we could be in touch with a good timeline.
Okay. Okay. Yep. If you could be in touch with the timeline, that would be great. I would appreciate that. Any other discussion or motions out there? Okay, I'll move hold on the item. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of hold, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. With that, Councilor Makeley can go back to vacation. The rest of you, thank you very much. Appreciate your participation tonight, and move to adjourn.
Awesome.
Good night.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.